Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. And you know what, it's been a while since we had a transphobic ad. This is a 5-minute ad that I want to show you today, and it's titled How Modern Equality Comes at Women's Expense. Okay, so I'm guessing a lot of you have already seen this video. It's been circulating everywhere on the internet. It almost has 1 million views, but as always, I gotta give my commentary on it, so let's watch it together. You can have the pleasure of watching it again if you've already seen it. The video is also bombarded with dislikes. It has 3,000 dislikes and 500 likes, which is so funny. I'm sorry, I know it's only 3 seconds, but I just find it so ironic how it says freedom matters. They don't give trans people freedom, but we'll continue.
Should a school-aged girl or a grown woman be forced to give up her privacy in a locker room because a biological man identifying as a woman wants to change there?
The language is just horrific already. They couldn't have said trans woman, right? They couldn't do that, because if they ever did, it would be validating the trans experience. So they have to make sure they say a biological male or man.
Should a shelter serving women who have survived sex trafficking and domestic violence be forced to allow biological men to sleep side by side with these women?
I don't know what any of the other things have to do with this person being trans. I acknowledge what they're trying to say here. Like, the trans people are the bad, the predators, the assaulters. No, it doesn't work like that. Also, I love how they depicted the trans woman here. Like, they had to go out of their way to make the animation look a lot more masculine.
Should faith-based adoption providers be shut down for following their conviction that the best environment for each child includes a mother and a father in a committed and stable marriage?
A faith-based adoption center is a real thing. Yes, they should, because LGBT people can also be religious and have faith. I don't know if they knew that, but 2 moms could go in who are very faith-based and go to the adoption center, still practice their religion. Doesn't matter if they're lesbians.
Should a biological male who believes he is female be allowed to compete against women and girls in female sports, depriving female athletes of a level playing field and countless opportunities to win and even earn college scholarships?
Yeah, I think they should be able to play sports and earn scholarships just like everybody else.
According to the so-called Equality Act, a priority for Democrats, including President Biden, the answer to all these questions is yes.
Yeah, alright, let's go. Sounds fucking good to me. Basic human rights, being able to adopt a child, being able to get married, not get discriminated against and hate crimed, and basic human rights. Sounds pretty good.
Despite its appealing name, the Equality Act poses an unprecedented threat to women, children, free speech, and religious freedom. At its core, the act ignores what science tells us about the differences between men and women, leaving women and girls to pay the price in shelters, locker rooms, and on the field of play.
This is such a weak argument because it's been debunked over and over again with the whole scientific thing. Being trans has been backed by science. What else does science tell us? One produces estrogen, one produces testosterone. Guess what happens when you transition? It switches around. It switches all the way around.
The same goes for a similar bill dubbed Fairness for All, which proposes meager and likely temporary carve-outs for religious groups. In short, the Equality Act doesn't offer equality. It creates victims.
Victims of what? Of trans people? You are my victim now. I can play in track now. How does that make you feel?
How would the Equality Act do this? By adding gender identity and sexual orientation to federal laws like the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the act seeks to impose the government's views about marriage, sex, and what it means to be male and female on the entire nation.
That's a good thing. Don't we want to progress as a society? You have to change things and add things because the world isn't how it was in 1950. These people want to live like it's still 1950. If anything, they'd probably go back to 1840. They probably want to leave it like that. But see how society progressed and people became equals? It's going to keep happening because that's what happens when you grow. Things change. And we're teaching a kindergarten class here for Alliance Defending Freedom.
For starters, the Equality Act would mandate that men who identify as women be allowed to compete for spots on female sports teams, for women's scholarships, and for other academic and sports-related opportunities designed specifically for women.
Correction, the Equality Act would allow trans women to be treated like cis women.
Female athletes like Selena Soule, Chelsea Mitchell, and Alana Smith know this firsthand. They've all become victims of local policies similar to the Equality Act that force them to compete against biological males in competitive track meets.
I'm so glad that this video brought these three up because this is not what you think it is. So there is a lawsuit going on about the whole trans women being in sports thing. The first one I want to talk about is Selena Soul. Selena, who is a track athlete at a high school in Connecticut, she finished in 8th place in a qualifying race and claimed that she failed to qualify because 2 transgender athletes were in the race. She was not able to qualify for the 55-meter event in the New England Regionals because of the transgender runners. If the 2 athletes had been barred from the race, Selena said she would have finished in 6th and qualified for regionals. So with that being said, if you take away the 2 transgender athletes, there were still 5 other cis women who beat her, and who beat the transgender athletes as well. Now to talk about Chelsea Mitchell, she was beat by a trans woman once. And then she beat that same trans woman twice. So it says here, Chelsea Mitchell, a senior at Connecticut's Canton High School, is one of the 3 plaintiffs in a federal lawsuit challenging transgender student athletes in Connecticut. 2 weeks ago, she declared, no matter how hard you work, you don't have a fair shot at victory when competing against trans girls. But within the space of 8 days, Mitchell has twice defeated a top rival who is trans, and while doing so, won 2 state championships. So it's just so funny to me when these types of channels use these arguments. They always use these same people. And this last one I want to point out, Alana Smith, she came in 3rd place, which means another cis woman beat her as well. And then she said it's not really about placement, it's all about knowing that I work so many hours a week to be able to get a runner-up at New England's as a freshman. And my thought to that was, do they not think that trans women train as well? Yeah, so those are just some interesting facts that I wanted to share with you about those 3.
The results are predictable. Over a 3-year period, high school girls in Connecticut missed out on 15 titles and 85 opportunities to advance to the next level of competition. With the Equality Act, female athletes across the country will pay the price for ignoring the meaningful biological differences between men and women. Women competing against similarly gifted and trained males know the outcome of the race before it even starts. In 1 year, 275 high school boys ran faster times than the lifetime best of world champion sprinter Allison Felix.
Yeah, and by the way, 275 high school boys are not 275 trans women. They don't undergo the same procedures or the same hormone treatments that trans women go through. Because hormones change your body a lot. And when you take the opposite one, it really makes your range just like a male range or just like a female range. It's like basic understanding that these people can't grasp for some reason. And do they also not know that cis women come in all shapes and sizes too? I know this is anecdotal, but I was on track and cross country when I was younger, before my transition. There was this really short younger girl. She was a lot shorter than me and everybody else on the team. And we had there was tall girls on the team, big tall girls. And I was even taller than her. I was bigger, I was taller and more muscular. And she still managed to beat all of us most of the time in the races that we did. So I'm just thinking back to size, because I know when you're playing sports, everyone's a different size. Everyone has different muscle mass and stuff like that. Some trans women are very small. Some trans women are very tall, just like cis women. And then when you take estrogen, your muscle mass decreases. A bunch of different things happen to your body. So to be more like female.
That's hardly equality. Rather, it's discrimination against women and girls. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. The Equality Act also poses a major threat to the very existence of religious organizations like schools, charities, and even churches. For many Americans, their faith inspires them to act for the good of their neighbors and for the flourishing of society. Their faith also requires them to abide by its teachings regarding marriage, sex, and what it means to be male and female.
So in what Bible does it say that trans people suck and gay people suck and they don't deserve any rights, and we have the right to completely disagree with you and discriminate against you?
But the Equality Act directly threatens the ability of religious organizations to serve others according to the beliefs that inspire them. The act would force faith-based adoption providers, for example, to violate their core beliefs by placing children in homes without a mother and a father.
So again, like they're saying gay people can't have faith or religion.
Worse, the act could forbid nearly every religious school, charity, and church from hiring staff and leaders that share their religious views. if those views diverge from the new government orthodoxy.
They would be forced to hire somebody who isn't religious because of the Equality Act. I don't know how many times I have to say it, but gay people can be religious. I'm not gonna hire someone who's an atheist to work at a religious school. Like, just because you're LGBT doesn't mean that you don't have faith.
Under the Equality Act regime, the federal government may have more say over the next pastor of your church than your congregation, denomination, or diocese. And that means a total abandonment of the God-given freedoms of speech, religious exercise, and of assembly that America's founders set out to protect in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights.
Yeah, these are both from the 1700s, and society progressed. And your freedom isn't taken away. You're just mad because you can't call people slurs anymore. And you can't get away with it. And then blame it on your religion. This is why these people are mad. They want to go back to 1787 so bad. They really would love it. Because at that point, you could chop my head off and it would be fine. Now you can't even call me the T word. How does it feel? You got to get over it at some point. You got to stop crying at some point.
The Act's devastating effects also extend to the marketplace. Just ask creative professionals like Jack Phillips or Baronel Stutzman. Both serve everyone, but cannot express all messages or participate in every event through their art. And when they politely declined to create art celebrating same-sex wedding ceremonies, their home states of Colorado and Washington hounded them with years of litigation under laws similar to the Equality Act.
That's because that's a definition of discrimination. I can understand not wanting to serve people who are absolute pieces of shit and are obnoxious and treating your business like it's garbage. But when you're doing it to someone who is gay because they are gay, then that falls under discrimination. It's just funny to me because these people who refuse to do service or whatever for gay people or trans people, you guys aren't the ones being gay or trans. You're making a cookie for a gay man.
The Equality Act could multiply situations like these, imposing a nationwide version of the freedom-crushing state laws that harm people like Jack and Baronel.
Ah, that's funny. Yeah, our freedom is in danger because we can't discriminate anymore. It's so hard. Life is so tough for us.
The freedom to live peaceably according to our beliefs is a bedrock of free society, resting on our human dignity and codified by the First Amendment. The Equality Act imposes a belief system about marriage and human sexuality on everyone and treats reasonable people who disagree with the government's views based on decent and honorable grounds as hostile and unfit to participate in the marketplace. Our nation can and must do better.
Yeah, because you are hostile. You don't want LGBT people to have rights. That's not very nice. They continuously fight against LGBT rights. Why would that ever be admirable? They're human beings just like you. Not everyone's gonna follow your way of life. There's like 8 billion people in the world. Everyone's different. The First Amendment protects several basic freedoms in the United States, including freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, the right to assemble, and the right to petition the government. You still have all of those things. You just can't call gay people the F word anymore without repercussions. You can't harass transgender people in your workplace anymore and misgender them continuously over and over again without repercussions.
Want to support free speech, religious freedom, and the real differences between men and women by opposing the Equality Act, fairness for all, and related attacks on our God-given liberties? Visit www.adflegal.com.
Yeah, I do want to oppose equality because I fucking suck. I don't want equality for anybody. I just want it for myself because I'm selfish. I'm narcissistic. It's all about me. It's all about the way that I feel. Fuck everybody else's feelings. I don't want them to be equal to me because I'm the one who's right. That's exactly how these people sound, and it sounds ridiculous. Imagine saying, do you want to oppose equality? Who the hell would say that and mean it? No, everyone should be equal. Alright, well that was a roller coaster ride. That was one of the worst ads I've seen. I can't believe people actually want to oppose equality. Alright, well I'm gonna get going, so I will see all of you next week with a new video. Thank you for watching.